Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
President Roosevelt's words could not have done a more superb job in capturing the feeling of devastation which hung over the United States after receiving full details of the surprise Japanese assault on the U.S. Pacific Naval Base in Pearl Harbor. The attack, devised by General Yamamoto of Japan, was based to cripple the U.S. Navy in the Pacific in order to stop any chance of U.S. intervention in Japanese expansion and empire creation, as well as to deal revenge for U.S.-imposed oil embargoes on Japan. It was the first in a barrage of assaults planned by the Japanese to unfold in the Pacific. 360 planes in total were launched, the initial attack beginning at 7:55 a.m. December 7, 1942. The Japanese were able to pass through U.S. radar checks, for they were mistaken as a fleet of B-52 U.S. bombers expected in the same airspace. The Japanese attacked with three primary units: high-altitude bombers, low-flying missile carriers, and mini-submarines to sink any ship which attempted to flee the relentless barrage of explosives and shells. The Japanese destroyed the U.S. Arizona, capsized the California, and sunk the Oklahoma, Nevada, and West Virginia in shallow water. Over 180 aircraft were destroyed and 2,300 deaths, compared to the Japanese, who only lost 29 planes. One of the sole survivors of the USS Arizona, Mal Middlesworth, now shares with us his first-hand testimonial of the events which unfolded December 7, 1942.
I was manning the USS Arizona. It began as a normal day. I woke up at 6 in the hull of the ship and enjoyed a relaxing breakfast with my crewmates. Sunday, it was my day off. In fact, I intended to go inland. And then I heard it. There was an explosion, and sirens began to ring out. I thought it was a drill, so I took my position. And then I realized that utter chaos and destruction broke out. We were completely unprepared. After a few minutes, which seemed to drag on for hours, we gathered our bearings and returned fire at the Japanese planes. Then, one of their missiles hit our ship. It must have hit the ammunition, for the aftermath was devastating. I survived. 60% of my body was covered in third-degree burns. I knew my only chance of survival was to escape the sinking Arizona. The worst part about that day was the feeling of helplessness. It is something that I carry with myself today.
The Japanese bombers wreaked mass devastations on ships and airfields, but failed to sink their primary goal, the aircraft carriers Lexington and Enterprise. The carriers were not even present at Pearl Harbor the day of the attack. Furthermore, critical facilities such as Pearl Harbor's ship repair yards were ignored, so although it appeared a victory with flying colors to the Japanese, they were mistaken, for they actually failed their primary objectives. Takeo Shiro, a Japanese pilot during the assault of Pearl Harbor, famed for taking an aerial shot of the island, now provides us with his testimonial of the events which unfolded.
I was a pilot in a Japanese high-altitude bomber. It was supposed to go in 3 waves, depending on how fast the Americans respond to our attack. But we lacked discipline. Signals from our commander were misread and we went in a one wave of destruction. It was a fantastic victory, greater than we could have ever hoped for. I was instructed to take an aerial shot of the scene and commemorate the day.
Pearl Harbor ended isolationist U.S. policies in the Second World War. The nation's outrage was well summed up by Senator Colony, chairman of U.S. Foreign Relations.
With unbelievable treachery and craftiness, Japan has attacked our territory and murdered American citizens. Japan began this war in treachery. We shall end it in victory.
Within hours of the Pearl Harbor raid, American Army and Navy officers were called from their homes and weekend golf clubs to